I have 6 kids and I have been homeschooling them ever since my oldest daughter was born. And I wanted to share my strategies and tips with you today to make homeschooling a little bit more manageable if it's something that you're doing or considering. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to be sharing my favorite homeschool hacks that have transformed our homeschool experience. One of the things that I truly love about homeschooling is the ability to lean in on your kids' interests and also their needs. For our oldest daughter, she loved to read. She was just a reading machine. And that was great because I could just basically give her anything and she was consuming information unintentionally. And it really supported what we were learning at the time, giving her the freedom and the time to read and then carefully choosing books that are, there's some called living books, and those are really great, rich books. We would choose books about animals and facts and all kinds of things. And then also nonfiction and fiction. And she just loved them all, and that was great. But then we also have kids who are super interested in things like art, graphics, robotics, and not as interested in reading. And with that, we're more able to implement audiobooks, but then have them really have the time to explore their special interest. And that's so cool because a lot of times when you're away at a school, you don't have time to really devote to your special interests. You can organize your time in a way where your child can just take off in what they're truly passionate about and what would most likely be a career path for them. Right now, our oldest son, Jacob, is great with a computer program called Blender. He is way beyond my knowledge in that realm. And I think that that is so cool. And I love that he can go at his own pace with it. So my big tip is to pay attention to your child and what they're interested in and passionate in, and try not to stop them. Just let them go with it. Give them the freedom that you can. Obviously, if your child is really interested in something that costs a lot of money, like, I don't know, like horseback riding or something, that might be difficult to do in massive amounts. But if they're really passionate about it, maybe they could work in the stable or work for a person with a horse and like trade things off, and that would give them additional life skills that are really neat. Also, don't dismiss life skills. I just think things like cooking and scheduling and like life management and even cleaning, they're all important life skills that everybody has to do. I think those are a really good thing to layer into your day. They're of course not the core. I think it's really neat how much homeschooling allows us to incorporate just life skills very naturally. I think it's really, really cool. And one thing that has majorly helped me is to use online resources to simplify my to-do list and also to save money. As I've said, I've been homeschooling for over 10 years officially now, but it's really felt like since our first was born because it was always our intention. And I have seen technology change and grow, and it's been so neat to be a part of that. And I can really respect and value the tools and resources that are available today that weren't even available last year because of AI and stuff like that. And this portion of the video is sponsored by a great resource, Kittle. And I'm including a promo code in the description box below, so check that out, save some money. I'm so excited to share this with you. So back in the day, I used to have to create everything. I mean, I had a computer, which was really great, but I would spend so much time creating different worksheets and schedules and all kinds of different graphics. And eventually I got to a point where people were making them and selling them online, and I would pay for downloadable versions of what I really wanted and things that I thought were like particularly exciting. But with Kittle, you have access to a vast library of professionally designed templates for all of your educational needs. Like, it is wild. There are so many ready-made resources like flashcards, mind maps, infographics. They have multiple different report cards, ways to make up a schedule, which I love. And you can customize it all. So you can input different things depending on what you're teaching, but you can also just type it in and like use what they've got because there are so many things. And if there's ever anything that you want to make like totally new and different, they have AI tools where you can generate your own images. It is so cool and it is so helpful. And you can even do things like they have a t-shirt section so you can design your own t-shirts and everybody can be walking around in your like family homeschool t-shirt, which I think is adorable. One thing that has really helped us, especially certain kids, is creating individual daily schedules, and it can be so much work. But I love that I can pre-design these super cute schedules and then just kind of like change a couple things each day, print it out, and all the kids know what they personally are doing. And they're excited because it's like their schedule and it looks special. Parker and Duncan particularly, they wake up very early, and Parker has goals for himself to like finish his school by noon, and he loves having a schedule that's personalized and to him, and he likes it to be in the printer or on the counter and ready. That helps him so much, and I love that I can easily make them, and I can even customize it if they're really interested in a particular subject that week, or if we're focusing something that week, I can put that into like the visual of the schedule, and it's super cute and fun. So I love Kittl. I really recommend it, and there is a promo in the description box below, so if you want to check it out, I highly recommend it. As somebody who loves interest-based learning, like, it's so great because you can really customize so much for your kids, and I love that. Next thing I want to discuss is space. Every family, every home is different, and it's really important to like not just look at what an influencer is doing. I remember there was this whole phase, and maybe there still is, of like, and I just don't look at them, but there was a whole phase of people who would share like their homeschool rooms, their homeschool classroom, their homeschool room, and that's really cool for ideas, and there are some really neat things that people do that it's like, oh neat, I didn't think of that, that's really exciting, maybe that would work for me. I discovered that having like a dedicated school room doesn't work for us because I don't want to be trapped in a room all day with all the kids, or to like have school only exist in that space. Like, it just doesn't work for us and for how we operate. But what has worked is having a designated drawer for each kid. They all have their own space for their schoolwork to go in and out of. They still manage to lose things on occasion, which is madness. I'm always like, well, wherever it is, it's somewhere in the house or the car. But sometimes it ends up elsewhere. I don't know. This isn't a perfect system, but it is what has helped us the most, considering we're people who lose things. So we have designated drawers. We have a drawer that has like pencils and art supplies, and then we have other spaces for other art supplies, but like the daily art supplies. We try to keep the living room table clean and ready for when the younger kids are doing their online but live in-person classes, and that's really helpful because we're still able to see them, but other people can like separate and distance, and noise isn't as much of an issue. Another reason that it really doesn't work for us to all be in one room or one space is that we do a lot of online schooling and a lot of online live classes, which I love and I will get into in a second. But in order to do that, you have a teacher speaking and you have you responding to the teacher, and you can't have a lot of background noise. So it doesn't work to have everybody in the same space. Similarly, if you like do piano lessons or other music lessons, like that needs its own space. So you just have to really think about what will work best for your family dynamic and try to map that out as best you can. There are so many different places you can learn at home though. You can go into a backyard, you can sit, I'm sitting at the kitchen counter. I like to spend a lot of time here, and Parker and Duncan are often here. Bailey likes to escape to her bedroom and like cozy up on her bed, and she does a lot of work from there. Jacob has a computer office desk space that he really likes to use. We've been able to adapt for each learner in the space that they learn best in. And when we started homeschooling, we lived in a mobile home. We lived in a 2-bedroom mobile home with barely a yard. And I was trying to navigate those dynamics at that time as well. And we often were like kitchen counter, kitchen table, playing in the play space, that sort of thing. But we had to navigate that as well. And I do think it's important for online classes that are live to have the ability to have like an adult within earshot and to kind of get an idea of what's going on. We've never encountered any issues, but if that's a concern for you, like if you're looking into online classes for a first time, that's definitely something that you can arrange. Next thing I want to discuss that I think is so important is that you're not an island, and homeschooling does not have to be at home. So there are many different paths to education. I think many people look at homeschooling as trying to take a public school classroom and put it into a room in your house, and that's what you do, and you're 9 to 3 each day, and you try to follow a school schedule and like just mimic school, which some people do. But when you think outside of that box a little bit, you can really do a lot of things that encourage learning and that can expand their education. So we've always loved local field trips and outings, things like museums, zoos, and you can often find classes at those places. We've done a lot of travel with our kids, and we're so grateful for that. And when we travel intentionally. So we're finding the museums, we're finding the children's museums, so cool. We're looking for like historical buildings or architectural wonders. We're trying to really learn about that place instead of simply enjoy it. I don't think that learning and enjoying things should be separate. We try to merge that, and then we try to encourage our kids to live in that way, as people often do regularly on their vacations, but I feel like we have a little bit more access to time in a sense to travel. So we're able to do it more often, and then we can really, really learn while we're doing it. There have been so many incredible trips. We've gone to different countries in Europe, and we've also been able to go over to the East Coast, which is so cool from a California perspective. We went to Plymouth, and we've gone to Williamsburg, and we've gone to Philadelphia and learned so much. And it's been just so neat to be able to be more hands-on in that way. So I really appreciate that. We've also gone to like Washington, DC, we've gone to Florida, we've gotten to experience a lot together. It's harder now that our family is so big, but also because our older kids have stricter activities and things that they like really need to be present for throughout the year. But I'm trying to figure something out. I want to like squeak something in there because it's such an important thing, I think, to their learning and to our family togetherness. It's been really cool. So not only can you educate through experiencing the world, but I also think it's really neat that we have so many online resources now. So I love outschool.com. I've mentioned it a lot on our channel. You do not have to be a homeschooler to take a class through it. You do need to be a kid, which some of the classes are so great. Like I'm tempted, but Outschool's really great. Check it out if you're a parent. It is just so cool. It's basically a massive library of classes, and they're in person over Zoom. And one of the things I love about it is our kids are meeting kids from around the world in these classes. One time Duncan was in a class, and at the time there were only, I think, 5, maybe there were 4 kids in the class and 1 teacher, but each one of them was in a different continent than the other. Like there was 5 continents being represented in one class, small class, so they're able to talk. A lot of the Outschool classes are very small. And I just think that it is so cool that they're having so much access to meeting different people and interest-based learning. They've taken acting classes, there are math classes, there are just so many different classes for many interests and also like main subjects. It's really cool. And then there are other online resources like Skillshare or Masterclass that are really great. And I'm saying all of this because sometimes you need to find time where your kids are doing other things that don't involve you, especially if you have a lot of kids to juggle. So I like to use these times where I can consistently rely on a kid or a set of kids being in an online space where I can then know that for another set of kids, I'll be able to be present. And I like to balance things out in that way. There are a couple of YouTube channels that I think are really awesome for this. One is Art for Kids Hub. Our kids really like to draw, and they're like free art classes, and they're super cute and fun, and our kids really enjoy following along with those videos, so that's been great. Cosmic Kids Yoga is super cool, and it's a great way for the kids to get like physically active, and it doesn't matter if it's like raining outside or whatever, but it's basically like yoga through story. So they're doing stories that are like interesting and fun for kids, and while they're listening to these stories, they're also moving and getting their body stretched out. It's really cool and a great way to be like, okay, little kids, you're there, I'm over here. And I can still see them and observe and, you know, keep things in line a little bit, but I can also have time with another kid or to figure things out on my own. So those are some really cool resources. And I find it really helpful to plan that into my day, to like plan for times when they are occupied in other ways and I can just focus on something else. And the last thing I want to say is don't be afraid of public school. Don't get it in your head that this is the only way to be, because it is a great thing for a lot of people and it doesn't work for a lot of people, and that's okay. And it's the same for public school or private school, and that's why I'm so glad that we have options. And there are ways that public schools can be helpful to homeschoolers. So for example, we have always homeschooled privately, just on our own. And this year we are going through a public school charter. So technically we're not like a traditional concept of homeschooling, but we're in a public school charter and we're supported by the public school in purchasing curriculum that's approved by the school and the state. And we have a teacher, and our kids are showing work samples and meeting in person with this teacher every month. So you have accountability if you feel like you need that. And they also provide other really cool resources, like each kid has been able to get a laptop for free and outside of their funds that they will return. Just like when you're getting a laptop through a public school, you return your laptop. So they do return their laptop, but they're able to use it for their schooling. It comes loaded with a bunch of really great programs that I was paying for privately on my own, and now it's just in everybody's laptop. That's super neat. They were also able to get like headphones, which was really cool, and it's really helpful for their different online classes. They're able to recommend and help us with curriculum choices, which is really helpful. We're also able to join in on field trips with like a mass network of homeschooled by charter people, and that's really neat. They have so many different field trip options each month. We're able to access special education resources like speech through them, which is really helpful. And Bailey was recently sent an email that she's like eligible for the National Honor Society, which I didn't get that email when we were our own private homeschool, but I guess because it's in a network of something, she's now in the National Honor Society, which is super cool. But if you're not interested in a charter, which I totally understand, you can still also reach out to the school district and to your school in your district to get assistance if you have a child who needs testing or additional help or resources. So if you're interested in getting like an academic assessment, or if you have concerns that your child might need special education resources, you can actually reach out to the public school system. And I believe, at least where we live, they will still provide testing and help you to figure out what your child needs, which is super cool. So please don't just dismiss public schools. Like, I really believe they are working so hard to try to help kids and to teach them. And I think that it's important that we all have faith in them in that way, even if we're doing something differently. And in my idealistic world, I hope that people think the same thing of homeschoolers. I feel like I know so many homeschoolers who are trying so hard just to give their kids the best education and experience in life, and they're working really, really hard. And I just, knocking teachers is such a bummer. That's all. And you might discover that homeschooling is just not for you or not for your place in life. And public schools are a great option. Private schools are a great option. Like, there are so many different wonderful options for educating your kids. There is not just one way to do it. And I really, really, really wish you the best with whatever your choice is. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comment section below. I will answer what I can. And please subscribe if you want to follow us on our journey, and we will see you next time.